Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the CSSH Student Pathways panel. This is going to be a general Q&A. My name is Megan Nickbaugh. I'm the Senior Coordinator for Undergraduate Recruitment Programming. What I'm going to do is introduce all of our students, or rather have them introduce themselves. They will talk a bit about themselves, and then there will be two of us floating around with microphones. If you have a question to ask the students, raise your hand and I'll be right there. Students, please introduce yourselves.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sneha Pandya, as you can see from my face up there. I'm a third-year English major here, and I have a minor in psychology. In terms of things that I've been involved in on campus, I've been greatly involved in research. I've completed my own research fellowship over the summer, and I studied abroad a couple of times. I participated in the Dialogue of Civilizations program twice, and then studied abroad at the University of Cambridge last summer, if you have questions about that. And I'm also greatly involved in student organizations, particularly the South Asian organization here on campus, and also Pan-Hellenic life, so fraternity and sorority life.
All right, you guys already heard from me, so I don't want to bore you too much. But as it says up there, I'm Grace, and I'm an international affairs major with a minor in sustainable business practices. I've done 3 study abroad opportunities when I've been here. My first was a Dialogue of Civilization to France, and then I spent a semester in Senegal, and then last summer I was in Iceland for a summer term. And while I've been here, I've done 3 co-ops. My first was at EF Foundation, which is in Cambridge, and then I was at Pathfinder International out in Watertown, and then my third one mixed it up a little bit, headed to an investment firm, Wellington Management.
Hi everyone, my name is Carlos Elias Campos. I'm from Venezuela. I'm a third-year Economics and International Affairs double major with minors in Math and Jewish Studies. Here in my time in Northeastern, I have done 1 co-op so far in Power Advocate, which is an energy consultant here in Boston. I'm actually going back to the same company for my next co-op cycle next June. I have been able to go to Israel in one of the Dialogue Civilizations that we have mentioned before. And I have been involved in a student club, the Venezuelan Student Unity, which I founded with 2 more students in 2013, and that have taken great part of my time here at school.
Hello everyone, again, you heard from me earlier, so I'm not going to talk too much about what I did earlier, but my name is Kara Gilbert. I'm a third-year human service major with concentration in public health, minor in global social entrepreneurship. I'm currently on my 2nd co-op, so I did my first one at the Institute for Healthcare Improvement in Cambridge. My second one now is at the Massachusetts Attorney General's office, and I recently just accepted my 3rd co-op, which I will be going to Nairobi, Kenya next May, to work at an HIV and AIDS, and I'll talk about it a little bit more later, clinic that is specifically for children with HIV and AIDS, as well as AIDS orphans and people displaced by the AIDS epidemic in Kenya. And I will be traveling to Nairobi again this summer to do research, as well as complete a dialogue in South Africa.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nathan Guerin, and I'm a 4th-year history major with a minor in business administration. I've studied abroad twice. I did summer in Cambridge, and then I did last semester as well in London. And I've done 2 co-ops so far at Northeastern, and I'm about to accept the 3rd tomorrow. I'll probably do something about it. So my first co-op was at the U.S. Embassy in Mexico City, and I was working in the commercial section. And then my 2nd co-op was in human resources, also at Wellington Management, actually. So I'll probably do human resources as well for the next one. And I've also been pretty involved with a lot of different student organizations, mostly Partners in Health Engage. We do like organizing regarding access to healthcare issues.
Okay, who would like to be our first question of the day? Someone's got to start it off. There we go.
So my question is, what's the time frame for completion of studies with all of the co-ops and study abroad opportunities that you've been able to take advantage of?
In terms of
when are you guys going to graduate?
I can start the one up. See, we've learned so much here at Northeastern. I can understand that question right there. I am a 5th year, so sadly I'll be graduating on May 6th.
I'm going to graduate in 4 years though, so I was able to do 3 different study abroad opportunities in 1 co-op, so this is kind of all about how you choose your time to be. But I'm doing a total of 8 semesters of undergraduate study, which is what everyone does at other universities as well.
And I'm at the end of my 3rd year, and was up until 2 days ago still deciding between 4 and 5 years, so you have quite a bit of time to decide.
I think it's also flexible depending on how things change after your second co-op. For example, I'm thinking about doing a 4-month co-op for my third one, so it will allow me to graduate in 4.5 years. So it depends on how you choose your path after your second and third year.
From an advising perspective, students work with their academic advisors starting from orientation forward. So we work with students to graduate them as close or on the 8th academic semester, just with normal 4-year schools. That can be with 2 co-ops, 3 co-ops, 1 co-op, study abroad, dialogues. No path is the same in our college, but we do work very closely with them to make sure that they're graduating in a timely manner. Next question.
Do you find that with so many people doing study abroad and co-op, you lose like a sense of community at Northeastern?
Just going forward to Casino, I can't see anything. I'm sorry. But I would say yes, a lot of people do go abroad, but I haven't found any loss of sense of community. So, for example, my roommate took her last club at the Environmental Protection Agency in DC last semester. And while I greatly missed her, there are many ways to keep in contact, whether it's Skype, texting, and I think once students come back and people who have gone abroad can comment on this a little bit better, it's very easy to integrate back as if you had only left for a very short period of time.
And just going off that, I mean, I think Northeastern really has this broad network. So you have this campus feel when you're in your classes and you're doing co-op in Boston and you're probably living in the dorms while you're doing that. But because we are such a globally focused university, I think that our network just kind of spans campus. And we just always, no matter where we are, we have that connection of Northeastern. For example, when I was in Senegal, I was contacted by someone that's now employed in the State Department that went to school at Northeastern. And he just reached out to an office at Northeastern, was like, is there anyone studying in Senegal right now? I'm going to be in Dakar for a couple days. I would love to meet up with a fellow Husky. And so I met up with a Northeastern alumni in Dakar, Senegal, and I got to just kind of talk and have that connection there. So I think it really just, it spans beyond campus.
Oh yeah, and also just wherever you are in co-op or studying abroad, there's going to be like more Huskies. So like when I was in Mexico City, there was also like 3 or 4 other like Northeastern students, and we were able to connect and hang out. So.
Other questions?
Could you speak a little bit about your research experience and like what exactly you did and how that incorporated into your curriculum?
So I can start since I mentioned research. Back in the day, as many students do, I was thinking that I wanted to go to medical school. So first I started out doing genetics research here at Northeastern in the College of Science. So with that, I was working on plants, and it wasn't that exciting, but we were trying to find a way to increase productivity of anti-cancer drugs. After that, because I was exposed to research, I knew that I wanted to do more, but more so in my field and in English. And so last summer, I did a research fellowship where I studied modernist techniques, so early 20th century literature, and how they incorporated it into the contemporary short story. And it was pretty interesting because I was able to do a creative endeavor as well with it, because research here really has no limits. And so I paired up my paper with a creative rendition of 7 short stories that I thought mimicked my research. And then I'm hoping to continue doing some research that I did with a professor last fall in one of my courses, studying interviews of first generation and second generation Indian Americans, because I am Indian American and it's pretty interesting to me, this summer. So there's a lot of different opportunities for research, and a lot of these come through different fellowships, directed study, independent study and research with professors. But that being said, professors are really excited to do research with you, so I wouldn't say that that's difficult to do on campus.
I would agree. It's really easy to find different opportunities to research and different funding opportunities as well. So over like the past 4 years, I've presented 2 papers. One at Quinnipiac, where my professor drove me down. We just attended this conference together. It was an undergraduate conference. And then one in Denver, which I also got funding to attend as well for like a weekend, which was really nice. And then last summer as well, I did an undergraduate research fellowship in Cambodia. So I was there for the summer looking at Khmer Rouge propaganda and archives and like video archives from 1975 and 1979. So there are a lot of opportunities just to get funding, to do research. You kind of just have to know where to look.
And I think if you're not particularly comfortable starting your own research projects, for example, my very first interaction, I worked in a psychology lab called the Lifespan Emotional Development Lab here at Northeastern, just because it was something to do, and I thought, this is very different, I might as well try it. And then after that, I started my own research project with the law school professor on the history and prevalence of sex trafficking in the United States. And this summer I will be traveling to Nairobi, Kenya, as you all probably heard earlier in my speech today, to study restorative justice techniques with sexual violence survivors. So in terms of restorative justice and connecting the offender with the survivor, and how does connecting those two individuals have an impact on both the survivor and their family members and the community. So is that better, is that worse, and what is the actual data from that? And should we implement these techniques not only in countries where these things might be more prevalent, but also in the United States as well?
So I think that beyond funding, the university also have great programs to do mentorship and actually teach you and help you how to develop your own independent research. I personally have been doing research on how social networks affect the currency exchange market in Venezuela. At the beginning, it was just a documentary project, but after applying to a couple of funding fellowships, I was able to travel to Colombia and Venezuela and see on field what was going on over there. So I think that the university, after you get the funding and you go to the places, actually provides you feedback and mentorship in order to make sure that you have the correct methodology, even if you're doing independent research.
We also have Rihanna back here with another microphone. More questions?
I've heard a lot about dialogues, but I'm not quite clear what they are.
So dialogues are a Northeastern specific study way to study abroad. It's we run on summer terms, so we have summer 1 and summer 2. And so a dialogue is, I think it's usually 5 to 6 weeks. And you actually go with a Northeastern professor, so the programs are developed by this professor, and then you study in the country that the program's been developed around. So it's a really nice continuation because you get to be with Northeastern professors, Northeastern students, but you're studying in France rather than in Boston. So it's just it's a nice continuation of your studies, and it's also a nice way to start seeing if you want to study abroad. Like for me, I had never traveled independently, so the idea of being on my own with all new people was like a very scary idea for me. So I started with my dialogue in France, and I met some of my best friends through that program, and it was just like a really nice way to see if I was actually capable of, being in a foreign country and things like that.
Yeah, and another thing is that because it's during the summer 1 or summer 2 term, which is essentially like half of the semester, you are going to take the same number of courses that you would be taking on campus while you're in your dialogue. So you'll be taking 2 classes, which is what students in their summer terms would be doing at Northeastern as well. So it's a great way to get in your credits over the summer, maybe take some more summer terms, do a dialogue so that you can do another co-op. Stuff like that is really what helps you kind of shape your own path, and I think it's a great opportunity that Northeastern has.
So in terms of exactly what you do for your co-ops, pick, if you would, a Tuesday morning, you're in your co-op for a month now, so it's not intro. And what is it that you wake up and actually do?
I'm the only one on co-op right now, so I can speak to that a little bit. So I'm currently doing my co-op at the Massachusetts Attorney General's office, and I'm able to work in the Criminal Bureau across all 8 divisions, but specifically I work mostly in financial investigation as well as the human trafficking divisions. So obviously I work in the Criminal Bureau, so I'm not allowed to say exactly what I do, but for all intents and purposes, I work with an Assistant Attorney General, so one of the trial attorneys, as well as the lead financial investigator on the case, and me. And I'm able to basically delve into somebody's complete financial history and look at patterns. So to dissect everything that they've ever spent money on, where is this money coming from, who is it going to, and what type of criminal behavior were they engaged in. I'm able to create court documents, and I was actually able to see one of the documents that I created displayed at trial a couple of weeks ago, which was really cool for me because I've never been in a legal setting. In terms of human trafficking, I work more so on doing background surveillance. If we have put video feed in somebody's house, doing that, transcribing witness interviews, and I was actually able to sit in on a few witness interviews with some human trafficking survivors as well.
So that's a good overview of co-op, but can we drill down and talk about what a normal day on co-op looks like?
That is
Because you've all done co-op.
I like do all those things in one day.
Well, let's see. So my last co-op, I was at Wellington Management, and I was on the learning and development team. So we put together courses and different classes for the entire firm, and as simple as like actually understanding what the securities industry is, all the way to preps for certain certifications, ways to public speak, how to write proficient emails, all those type of things. So, and for me, about a month in, my manager actually left on maternity leave. So all of a sudden, I was kind of the person that knew what was going on most in the learning and development team. So my normal day was, it was mostly, I was like event planning. So I would go over emails that I had gotten the day before from vendors, from clients around the firm, seeing what their needs were to match with courses, to meeting with the vendors, putting the courses together, sometimes sitting in on the courses, and then I did a lot of, I would send evaluations out afterwards, and then I had to play with Excel to put all those metrics together for my boss and things like that. But I loved that co-op because my day-to-day, it was always changing. I was never sitting at a desk for 8 hours straight, and it was a great way to see how a really large investment firm works.
Next question.
Hi, I was just interested in all of these amazing co-op experiences that you're having here, how it's helping you to shape your plans for after you graduate, and in particular, your careers afterwards. And so I would love to know about your mindset about all of that and how you're growing with respect to careers.
All right, well, I'm the only graduate up here, so I can talk about that. So as I said in my speech earlier, I came into Northeastern really having no idea what I wanted to do. And through my first co-op, it was kind of more of a ruling out, I guess. I decided that was not for me, but I also think that's kind of the perfect thing with co-op is you get to decide what is and isn't for you before you're in the real world doing that job for who knows how long. So my second co-op at Pathfinder International, I was working with project managers, and I was starting to see how my skill set really fit with project-based work. So looking for my third co-op, I was less focused on the industry, hence investment, but more focused on getting the project-type work. So now that I'm graduating, I'm taking the summer off to go to Europe, but I'm going to be looking for project management jobs because I've been able through co-op to see that that's really where my skill set lies.
And I would just add as well. So I've always been. I've always been interested in joining the foreign service, kind of growing up. And so like my first co-op was I was able to work. I was 19 years old and we were working at the U.S. Embassy in Mexico. So I was really able to like very quickly kind of actually do what I wanted to do and see how it was. And I really enjoyed it, and I'll probably take the foreign to like the FSO exams next year. But in the meantime, I've also like done like an HR co-op. I'm going to do another one here as well. Just it's kind of like a just in case, but it's also like an alternative path that I feel like I can do and that I've enjoyed so far. So it's just there's been a lot of different opportunities that I can see myself doing, and I feel like when I graduate, it'll be I have different options.
I think in general you can summarize the co-op experience as a process of experimentation and specialization. At the beginning, when you go out in co-op, you want to see as many jobs as possible, see as many opportunities as possible to test if what you're learning is actually what you want to do. But in some cases, and it's my case, when you find some company or some area of study that you really like, you want to specialize. For example, that's the reason why I'm going back to the same company, because I created a good environment of work with my peers. At the same time, it's energy, which is something I'm interested at. So you end up having your academic life built into that co-op or built into that area you want to study specifically.
With the co-op studies, of course, it's really important that you experience what it's like to work for a company, but more on the financial side of things, is it possible for you to give me a range of maybe what people tend to make, or how many people get paid co-ops versus more like an internship, if that's possible?
So I think it really depends on your major, what you want to do. So, for example, there are some co-ops that are completely unpaid, and for that, we don't want co-op to be a financial barrier. So if the student says, I really want to do this co-op, but I'm unable to afford being unpaid for 6 months, we have scholarships and stipends at Northeastern that can subsidize that, because again, we don't want this to be based on social class or anything like that. But I don't think I can really give a range. I know what I've made on co-op, but I mean, and people also filter out, so a lot of people ask, how do I know what co-ops apply to? You look at what you're interested in, but also some people say, I cannot make less than this amount of money, and therefore I will apply to these jobs.
I'd say like typically what I've seen with people who are paid is you'll break even for the semester, so you'll typically be able to pay rent is what a lot of people want to be able to do, and like living expenses. So that's always a huge plus if that's the case, but again, sometimes unpaid opportunities are amazing opportunities, and that being said, Northeastern does have those kinds of scholarships and stipends that'll really cover that semester for you if that's something that you choose to do.
Also, I think that is normal that as many co-ops as you take, I mean, the first co-op is less paid than the second, and the third is more paid than the second, so that's I think a progressive increase on your salary options.
And for my second co-op, I worked at a nonprofit, and I was still able to pay my rent and be completely independent, because that's the arrangement I have with my parents.
By what time do you think you need to know your major, like what year, and how easy is it to switch majors and add minors?
Okay, so that question was, what was the timeline for choosing your major? And also on the flip side of that coin, how easy is it to change majors if you find your interest changing?
So I can do that since I changed my major 4 times. It was a great freshman year. That being said, I believe it's by the end of sophomore year that you should have your major done, but Megan's an advisor and can kind of answer that a little bit more clearly. In terms of how easy it is, very easy at Northeastern. Pretty much you can go meet with the academic advisor, so the Megans, of whichever college you're interested in or the department, and ask them, is it feasible for me to do this major? Should I think of a combined major, a double major? Basically, whatever your interests are, approach the person in the department that can help you map out your path. They're more than willing to do so, and oftentimes they'll speak to your previous advisor, so the one that was in your previous major, and talk about kind of combining that or seeing what that direction will be like, and where your credits will count, when you're graduating on time, everything like that. So it was a very relaxing process for me, which is why I probably changed my major so many times, but I did not face any hurdles to doing so. There are some colleges, I believe, where you have applications as well if you want to transfer in, but my understanding is you'll have all the resources there to be able to do that if you choose to.
With that being said, it does depend on the major you want to switch into. Some majors are a lot more easy to transfer into than others. So for example, if it is the end of your second year, the end of your third year, it's going to be, okay, maybe we should kind of settle down and choose a major. But more so, for example, if it's the end of your second year and you want to switch into pharmacy, pharmacy is a 6-year program, and it is very rigid, so it's all just about communicating with your advisor and in what time span can I get this completed, because if you want to switch into a program like pharmacy, which does have very strict requirements, it might take a little bit longer.
That comes down to advising as well. Again, we meet with all of our students. I meet with my students at least twice a term, typically more. Akira is actually one of my students. What we do is if a student comes to me and says, I'm interested in changing my major, the very first thing we do is look at what they've completed, any AP or transfer credits that they brought in, and then we look at the new major and we try to map that out to see if they will still be able to graduate within that 8 academic semesters. If it's not possible, if it would add too much time on, we reframe the conversation to talk about maybe doing a minor in that area or using electives to explore that second area. Within our college, it's very flexible. There is a lot of interdisciplinary coursework as well, so students often find that they are able to kind of scratch that itch as they see fit. Sneha actually came to us from a different college entirely. She was in College of Science when she was admitted. And being able to transfer into our college and still graduate in a timely manner with co-ops and study abroad really speaks to that nature of the interdisciplinary offerings at Northeastern in general. But essentially it's communication. Work with your advisors and we will do best to try and make everything happen for you.
So I've heard AP credits mentioned a couple of times, but I was wondering if you had any information about IB credits, the IB diploma, and how that translates into Northeastern, and if that is a viable option for credit hours and just not having as many credits in a similar way that AP credits could be.
Okay. So, as an advisor, yes, we also accept IB credits, and we have several students, a lot of students who come in with those. They function exactly as AP credits do. What we do is we look at where they would best be applied. Typically, that's a range of our core courses, sometimes major courses. If a student brings in, say, an American government course, that can apply towards poli-sci, international affairs, so forth. We do have a limit, 32 AP credits can apply towards the undergrad program. IB we look at very specifically every year because sometimes those higher and standard levels change. But that's something that we begin reviewing as soon as a student has indicated their enrollment for the fall. We work with you prior to orientation to receive all of your transcripts, all of your IB stuff, all of your AP, transfer coursework, what have you. We apply it, and then we work with you to build your schedule for the fall months in advance of you coming to orientation. So on that token, we also are able to kind of guarantee you a seat in the courses that you're very much interested in.
Just wondering if you have any pearls of wisdom you'd like to pass on to people coming in, that, like, one piece of advice that you think really would have made your time, your first year or 2 here, easier or more productive.
So one of the great things about Northeastern, however, too much of anything can be a negative thing. We are a very pre-professional school, so CSSH does a very good job of incorporating their liberal arts education. But with that being said, I think all Northeastern students are very driven, but to the point where we say, I need to do this, this, and this in order to prepare for my career, in order to make me a better person, in order to explore every subject area that I possibly can. And it is okay to not do everything. I feel a little bit hypocritical saying this right now. I wish I had known this my freshman year, but it is okay to pursue activities just for the sake of enjoyment, and not necessarily because it will add to your resume or to help you in your career path. And college is the time to do that. And I think a lot of students learn that on co-op and say, I did a co-op that didn't necessarily help me in the field that I want to go into, but it helped me discover what I don't want to go into, which is just as valuable, if not more so, I would say. And with that being said, just explore every opportunity available to you, and don't cut something out because it doesn't neatly fit into the plan that you already have set out.
How would you describe the social environment of Northeastern?
So I would say it's pretty casual. So it's pretty much like you can find your friends anytime, really. There's like a really wide variety of communities here on campus. 360 organizations, I believe, student-run organizations. From the Greek life perspective, that's something that a lot of students look for when they come to campus. Program, whatever it may be. And then we have experiences like the study abroad program and dialogue of civilizations where I've met some of my best friends. So coming back to campus, there's always a friendly face. It feels really small. So everybody's kind of sitting outside on a nice spring day, not like this one. And everyone's pretty much accessible. So I would say that the social environment here is pretty casual. You can meet your friends, do what you want, choose to do. You don't feel pressured to do anything. I mean, I really love being here, so.
Very different from high school. That's basically how I can sum it up.
Hi.
Can't stand it. Do you have to stay in it for the 6 months?
For a student to stay in that proposition, if there's something going on that is like you don't feel safe or something like that, that's a completely different situation, and we will get you out, tell your advisors, tell somebody, because there's no way that we will tolerate you being in an unsafe situation. If you just really don't like the job, because Northeastern has connections to these co-op employers, we do want to sustain relations with them for students in the future who may want to pursue jobs at these organizations. But I would say there are going to be ups and downs in your co-op as well as in any job. So what we really encourage students to do is we help you find the problem. So is it you don't like the department you're in or the team you're on or a coworker specifically that you have to work with, and try to make it so you get the most experience and the best experience you can out of it. And if it's a matter of tweaking something small to where at the same organization you can still thrive, or is it just it's an experience where you see I don't like this organization or I don't like this field, but that's something really good for me to know for the future, and I won't do this again, I'll try something different.
And just going off of that, every time that I've applied to co-ops, because we do this every 6 months, there are probably a handful of students on campus at any time that have done the co-op that you're interested in. So I've always tried to connect with those students to get their perspective on the position. So that way, even before your first day, you kind of know what's expected of you, you know kind of the ins and outs of what they thought went well, what didn't go well. So I think you come in with a really good perspective of what you're going to be doing and what it's going to be like, so that kind of can help you tweak your expectations and things like that.
Thank you. And my second question is about foreign languages. I know at my school I've been taking a foreign language since 7th grade, but I was wondering how you guys felt like when you took foreign language classes here. Did you really feel like if you went to live in that country, you'd be totally fine, that you felt completely proficient in it?
I feel pretty comfortable. So I took advanced Spanish 2 here, kind of right before I went to Mexico for my first co-op. And I can't speak for all languages or all teachers necessarily, but I really enjoyed the course. It also had a service learning component in it, so a lot of courses at Northeastern have service learning, where you're taking like the academic course, but in addition to that, you're volunteering somewhere in the community. So I was volunteering at an NGO downtown called Oiste, that helps Latinos get involved in civic engagement, run for office in Massachusetts. So it was like a Spanish language office, and it felt like really great preparation for Mexico, because like I was able to arrive in Mexico. And like maybe I wasn't like 100% fluent or anything. I'm not still, but it was very good preparation, and I felt a lot more comfortable about just living there and like calling people in Spanish and everything. So I had a very positive experience with language classes here.
And another type of language course that you might be taking if you go on study abroad is going to be one while you're on your study abroad. So like in the other country, you'll have like an immersive course. So my very first Dialogue of Civilizations was in Italy, and I had never taken an Italian class, but we were taking elementary Italian 1 immersion. And so essentially it's where you have a professor who also lives in Italy, and that's like the partnership that Northeastern has developed. And so Claudia was teaching us Italian, which is the best way to learn a language while you're in the country. So I would say that we also are open to other types of language courses and opportunities that will help you further your development while you're in the country as well.
And like Sneha said, there is no substitute for either being in that country or being in a place where you have to learn the language. So I took intermediate Spanish too. I can read Spanish, I can understand when people are speaking Spanish. You ask me to speak it, very difficult. So I've actually heard this from a lot of my other friends who have studied abroad in foreign countries as well, or even my friend who is an ASL studies major. She had taken a ton of ASL classes because obviously that's her major, but until she pursued a full-time co-op at a deaf studies school, it wasn't until then that she really said, you know what, it's either this or I will be able to do my job effectively, and there is no substitute for being in that environment and being completely unknowledgeable about it and forcing yourself to.
Okay, folks, we have time for one more question. Anyone? Okay.
A few years ago, when you were in the position of having to choose a college like all of us are, what specifically made you choose Northeastern?
I guess I'll start. So I came here for a weekend, similar to everybody kind of in this room, and it was in the spring, like it was now, and I really fell in love with the campus. It was not snowing when I came, but I could see myself here, and that was pretty much the main deciding factor, is I could see myself sitting outside, I could see myself with the different students talking to each other, I could see myself walking across the campus, and I think that that's something I couldn't feel at other schools, and so that was a very personal choice for me, but given all the different resources and everything that I'd heard, it just fit. And so that was really my main deciding factor, was it felt like a comfortable environment and one where I could see myself really excelling and enjoying my time in college.
So I haven't mentioned this yet today, but I actually transferred to Northeastern after my first year in a different college. I had originally looked at Northeastern as well, and then I just could not make up my mind the last, that last day we have to send in your deposit. But pretty much within a week of being in another university, I realized that I had made a mistake. I spent my whole freshman year at that other university, but then Northeastern just really called me back, I guess. I just wanted to be in Boston, and being in another school, I really saw how important the experimental learning is. We all need a job, so the fact that this co-op program is built in and that I can graduate with a year and a half work experience as a 19-year-old, that seemed so far into the future, but it was so relevant that Northeastern just pulled me in.
For me as an international student, I think one of the most important factors was that I wanted to study in Boston. Boston was the first factor. But then after applying to different universities and putting together all the financial and social aspects of what I wanted, I think that Northeastern fitted perfectly. But beyond that, when I went to orientations and meetings in different universities, I felt that Northeastern was a person, not a number. So my application was not a number. It was actually people knew what I did. People were interested in my projects. People were interested in what I will be doing if I came to Northeastern. So I think just the community of the university attracted me and made me decide to come to Northeastern.
So I actually reached out to a student that I had met who went to Northeastern and talked to her about her experience a little bit before. I believe Sneha and I came at the same time, and I actually remember it hailing at one point. So this is whether
I think I was just very happy with it.
yes, there's whether it lose me, but I remember it being very bitterly cold and me still falling in love with the campus. So that was one thing that stood out to me, and I think. Honestly, at the end of the day, Northeastern, I narrowed it down to my top two, and I live in New York, very close to New York City, and the other school was in New York City, which is a little too close to home for my personal liking. And my mother said, well, if you go to the school in New York City, I can drop by whenever I want, and we can have lunch twice or 3 times a week. And the next day I sent in my deposit to
I kind of had a different experience. I was just really comically disengaged from the whole college process. I applied to Northeastern on a whim, didn't know anything about it. I was abroad my senior year for a high school exchange program, so I wasn't able to do any campus visits. I watched one YouTube video of it was move in 2008 at Northeastern. I don't know if you've seen it. It was grass and trees. And I was oh, it's pretty. I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina, so it was this or Chapel. It ended up kind of being this or Chapel Hill, here at Chapel Hill. And it ended up just being a financial decision for me. I got an aid package that actually made Northeastern cheaper. But again, never did a tour, didn't know anything about it, didn't even really research before I accepted. But I came here and I loved it, and it worked out really well for me. I don't advise probably doing that. But yeah, the fact that you're here, you're already far ahead.
And on that note, I would like to give a hand to our students. That will conclude our Student Pathways panel. There is a research panel running upstairs just on the 3rd floor. It's going to be going for another 15 or 20 minutes. Students with their actual research presentations if you would like to attend. Otherwise, we hope to see you at Husky Fest later today. Thank you for coming to Northeastern.